Somewhere, an electric chair is waiting.
Yeah. Ring cameras are rolling, everybody.
Laurel Hardy stuff.
Is there enough back there, Jack?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sons of the desert. A little bit of a breakaway from what we're normally used to. It's 30 years since we started doing this nonsense, and we thought we'd just get our heads together and have a little chat about what we can remember about the last 30. How it started, how it went, and where it's going to. Because I'm sure that we'll be doing this again in another 30 years' time.
We certainly will.
We'll all be here, won't we?
Yeah, we certainly will. If we're not locked up.
We'll all be here in spirit, if not in body.
In spirit.
The idea of this is just to get a few of us together who were there from the inception, when it was just a twinkle in Chris Coffey's eye, all the way up to last year when we had a roasted oyster voodoo in our 4th venue since we started.
Yeah, 4th venue.
Wow. 4th venue, still choosing our venues for particular reasons. It's got food, it's got good transport links, and it's got a bar.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers, everyone.
I feel bad drinking orange, but I'm driving, so
Well, one of those things. We won't hold it against you, Eric. Norman.
Yes.
Do you remember how the Laurel Hardy came about?
Jan Van Tiel's been over here. We've had Anton. We've had lots of people from the continent.
Harry
obviously.
Hockey.
Harry's been over, yeah.
Came and did a presentation.
Linda and I can't remember her name.
Linda and from Georgia.
Denise and Linda.
Denise and,
right,
From Harlem, when they opened the museum in Harlem.
Yeah. Oh no, it's infamous.
What he did, he got a local brewery, a small brewery in Manchester.
Yeah.
A guy called Brendan Dobbin, who was a very good brewer, and he ran his own pub.
Yeah.
And Chris approached him about getting his own beer done, and he said it would be very expensive to do it, and you'd have to buy loads of it, to make it worth his while. But what he said, I can use one of my beers, and I'll bottle it,
relabel it,
and we'll relabel it.
Yeah.
So did the first one, Laurel Light, and then 2 years later, for Ollie Sentin, we did a dark beer called Hardy Heavy. And of course, Chris, for the Hardy one, you were running an evening in Widnes.
That's right, yeah.
So Chris planned a day, and we all met in Manchester, and we went to the pub where the beer was on. So there was Laurel Light and Hardy Heavy.
Quite a few of them.
Then we went to he'd advertised all this, Chris, and there was a pull-out in Manchester Evening News, and it had a write-up about the day.
Fantastic.
So we went to the Corner House to see the films, because he'd arranged for films to be shown at one of the cinemas at the Corner House in Manchester. We turned up, and we couldn't get in because it was full.
That's a classic, that.
So then we went to Stockport. There was a Laurel Hardy themed pub in Stockport. We went there and we got them to show. I got a video of it was a satellite TV. It was a satellite TV, and they showed a Laurel Hardy film in colour. It was a colourised film, and I got them. Chris gave him the video, and they played it, and they had screens on around the pub. So Laurel Hardy appeared in colour in 1992.
Yeah.
Was that when we all went back to Widnes? The St Columba Hall? Yeah.
For the meal. And we did all this, and we're in Widnes for this meal, a big captive audience. I said, have you arranged to bring all the crates of Hardy Heavy you've had made?
Yeah.
He said, no, they're all at home. And he did, in fact, drink most of them.
Well, he's dedicated.
Because
lad,
we
isn't he?
went to
Dedicated.
Ulverston. We went to Ulverston for Stan's centenary, and we didn't take any Laurel Light, and another captive audience. But Chris had to sit at home drinking them all for the next.
Well, the things you
For
do.
the next year.
The things you have to do.
Well, Chris liked to drink back then, didn't he?
But I got my hands on a few bottles of it.
Yeah.
And I've still got 2 bottles at home with the beer still in.
I've got them, yeah. I've got a few spares.
And
You daren't open them now. But
Well, you can't open them now. They're bottle conditioned and they'd have gone off in 1993, basically.
yeah, they've gone off in 6 or 8 months, wouldn't they?
But and I took 2 full ones over to the last European convention. No, not the last European convention. The Bergen op Zoom.
Oh, there's Sundays.
Yeah.
Sundays.
Yeah.
And when we went to the Laurel Hardy bar, I took him a couple of bottles to put behind the bar.
I remember a bottle popping up once on an auction here, and I thought I'll buy that and neck it, no matter what condition it's in. And I went head to head in the auction with John Burton, and I won the auction. And then John came over and he said, "I'm really gutted." He said, "Because I collect Laurel and Hardy beer bottles." He said, "I really wanted that. I've not got it in my collection," and I felt so guilty. "Here, have it, John." I said, "Yeah." I was just going to neck it. I said, "But you can have it, mate. Go on." I felt so guilty. I didn't even take any money off him for it. I think he bought me a pint. But Chris, I like with Chris Coffey, it was all around beer.
Douglas brought that Haji Ali clip.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Which is now available on DVD. It's been available for years, but hardly anybody had seen it then.
That's right.
It was it was in the foreign versions of films, which most people didn't have.
No, that's true.
Just remember why he never blew up, because he was just fire eating and spewing up petrol everywhere.
Well, he did die at an early age because of swallowing all that petrol.
I can't think why.
The cremation didn't last long, did it? Job.
Angie decided I needed to clear all the stuff out because I've got tons of stuff in one of our spare rooms, and she said, "Why don't you get a load of stuff in?" Coming up to, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, she said, "Why don't you put this in the raffle?" And it was like a mystery box of Laurel Hardy stuff, and I brought it to the raffle, and somebody bid for it, a box of Laurel Hardy stuff, and of course it was Graham won it. Graham from Chesterfield won it, and it was a pink 1993.
I think he had that on in the Scotland convention.
He still wears it.
Yeah.
I got it. I bought it at the first convention, and for some reason, I can't think why, for some reason I never fancied wearing a pink t-shirt. But anyway, Graham wears it now and he's absolutely made up with it, you know. John McCabe wrote to me and threatened me. He said, "I have a friend who's a solicitor in Manchester and the family estate owns that." So I wrote back to him and I said, "John, Stan Laurel wrote the sketch in 1940 and first performed it as a fundraiser for the Red Cross. And we perform it at the Laurel HarDays. Nobody pays any money or charges anything. People are laughing." And I said I was very pleased to be able to do it at a theatre over in the Wirral, and we for a Boy Scouts fundraiser. And because Stan and Neil were attached to this Boy Scout group, and we did it, and the people paid £2 to get in, and it was all the friends and family of the Boy Scouts group, and all the money raised was going to buy canoes and camping equipment for the Boy Scouts. Nobody got paid anything at all. And I wrote back to him and I said, to see children laughing at what we were trying to be Laurel Hardy was phenomenal. And I said, if you give me a court date, I'll see you in court. And of course I never heard from him.
I remember the year when I was rushing between the TV room when England were beating Germany 5-1 in the World Cup.
I remember watching that.
And then back to the HarDays, and then over to, and every time I got, England had scored again.
Another goal.
I didn't see any goals.
Yeah.
And by 1994, the statue had been given planning permission.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had
to place it in a back street near a toilet block. Bill wanted somewhere better.
No, it's funny because there were all kinds of objections, and I mean, we were fortunate with the statue because an awful lot of the council got on board with it, and the people, Bill started off working with a local guy in Ulverston who hadn't got the greatest reputation as being a sculptor, And the town council, and when I thought, no, we're not going to do him. So shortly, or around that time, Graham Ibbison had done this Eric Morecambe for Morecambe. So I got in touch with Graham, and I spoke to him, chatted to him, and I thought, no, we want to get a really prestigious guy to do it. And I got to know Graham very well. He's gone to his house a few times. He's been to my house. And what a guy. He loves his beer. And we were up in Ulverston one time having a few. And he said, oh, Carol's given me this mobile phone to keep in touch with me. He said, I can't stand it. And there was a beer pot somebody had left on the table. He said, hey, I'll put it in there. Then later on, he's trying to dry it out. But no, that was good. I've always associated the statue with the Harday because it really is involved.
I don't remember this, but it seems that AJ wrote a sketch. It was performed by Stan Slade and an wholly unknown actor, but filming was prohibited. Yes, and it says here, was it any good? I don't remember it at all.
I don't remember.
Yeah, that was something I put in that because
That was really good.
because we've got no
So memorable.
record of it.
No.
We don't know if it was any good or not.
No.
Do you
Was
remember
that?
it?
No. I was probably in the other room. If he did it at the end of his comedy routine.
I think he did it just before his speech.
At the time, if I can fill in here, Stan Slade used to work with Neil Whittingham, the lad who he was involved with the Boy Scouts, you know I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, he was the Ollie in the
Yeah, Neil Whittingham, he was a good Ollie actually.
Stan's had a few partners, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's worn them out. He just wears them out. Cast them aside.
Okay. Yeah, these two little cameras.
Yeah.
You only have a 30-minute limit, and you have to stop starting.
Right.
Yeah,
So that's
Yeah.
why we're doing the little
sure.
drinks. Anybody while we're on a little pause? Want a drink?
I'm at moment. I'm okay at the
We're
moment,
fine.
thanks.
We're just about warming up.
Oh.
It's
No, I'm
I
fine.
know this
Yeah.
will last another 2 minutes.
It's fine. Yeah, fine, right?
Oh, go on then.
What was it?
61 deep.
61 deep, 61 deep, 61 deep.
Three off. You want another orange, Eric?
No, I'm fine.
Want a copy, Eric?
I'm fine, no, honest.
All in good time.
Are these cameras on?
Yes,
Are they recording?
yes.
Right,
Yeah.
well, we can carry on. We can get Julie on.
Yeah.
She can have a cameo now. When she
Yeah,
comes
she's
back
going to
later.
cameo, feeding us. Yeah, we were talking about.
So, we'll just go back to that again with the 95 thing, if that's all right.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
And to bring
Yeah.
you back into it. So.
Yeah, sorry, because we cut in here.
It won't affect the continuity of the glasses suddenly filling up,
That's
will
what's
it?
going to make it funny.
Spot the continuity error.
He decided in '94 it was going to be an annual event.
And what a good decision.
Yes.
He'd had a few scoops as well.
It's an
You
annual
watch the
event.
video footage of that interview.
He's sat in that corner laughing his head off.
There's a line he says, this is what it comes across as to me. I keep walking round telling body it's an annual event now.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It worked. That's why we have it on the banner. We have it on all the.
And here we are today, and it still is.
And who'd have thought it?
You just ate it.
95, the marvellous Chris Coffey on the South Bank show. I remember that piece of film.
I remember that because I made it.
It was amazing. It was amazingly good. Chris was amazingly acrobatic.
Yes, he was very flexible. Chris.
He bounced well in
He
them
always
days.
bounced well.
he
Good
did
job,
bounce
innit?
well, Yeah.
He bounced off lots of things, didn't he?
It was a wrecking ball sometimes. He's crashing through tables on his way to the bar. On his mission for more beer.
Well, when we ran a convention on the Sunday, he said, "You're in charge of the games."
You can bring them drinks in.
Yeah.
I said, what we got for games? He said, well, we'll have to play a hide and seek game. And he gave me things to hide. And people had to seek them.
Hence the name.
And we were stood in the hotel doorway throwing things because it was raining so hard. We were throwing things so people didn't get wet. And then when people came up and said, I've found this, do I get a prize? I said, that's your prize. Because we did do
Thank you, Julia.
we did do an inexpensive convention because there was an international convention in Amsterdam, I think that year.
So it had to be cheap.
So we did a cheap
Yeah.
UK convention.
Yeah.
And less people you'd expect would actually book to come because he thought because it was so cheap, it wasn't worth coming to. I don't think something like that. But we all enjoyed it.
I remember him saying that we kind of have to do this cheap one.
We all enjoyed it. It was about £147, I think, and it was £7 was spent on. £7 was spent on entertainment per person.
So they were really well entertained.
Hospitality. Yeah.
Well, what done really well was on the I called it the Pard Nuz meal.
Yeah.
On the Saturday evening, and we all sat down, and I'd spent some of the afternoon filling up water pistols which were under the tables, and people were firing water pistols at each other.
That's never a bad idea.
That went down very well. And then I gathered them up at someone else's suggestion. I gathered them up and took them out to the staff. Then they could come and get their own back.
What?
Because they'd been serving us dodging water pistols.
Not always
the whole
successfully.
Meal. So I went out the back when they were giving us a few minutes to ourselves, and I gave them a tip and I said, "Here's some water pistols. Go and get your own back." And they did.
And they did with joy.
Raffle funds for the statue, 2,717.
Yeah.
You know, for just a small gathering of people.
No, it was good. It was good.
That's a lot.
It really started coming as soon as the Sons got involved, you know, in mass, because Bill did it. Tim, a guy called Tim in Ulverston Tourist Board, and Bill set it up, Tim Rogers, and they hadn't really got their act together. But as soon as the Sons worldwide got involved, it was brilliant.
Everybody bought into that, didn't they?
Everybody did.
Yeah.
Everybody was fundraising.
It was a good feeling, that.
Yeah. And we were all, and being typical Laurel Hardy enthusiasts, we worked for all those years to get the money to buy the statue. So what did we do? Give it away.
Yeah.
But a funny little story. There was a lad when I first joined the Liverpool tent. There was a family, and they had two little lads who were about 8 or 10 years of age, and I got to know them quite well. The mum and dad and the two little lads. Well, one of the lads did very well at school, bright lad, and he went, got some good grades, went to university, became a solicitor. And when the statue appeal was going, I was going up to the council meetings at Ulverston regularly, and they were talking about the legal handover of the statue. So I thought, I know nothing about the legal side of it. So I got in touch with Guy Wigmore, who's by then a practicing solicitor, lives in Southport. And I remember writing to him saying, Guy, I've got a proposition for you. I want you to act on behalf of the statue appeal in giving the statue to the town of Ulverston. And if you take on the job, I can guarantee you two things. One, we will not engage another solicitor in the transaction. And two, we won't ever pay you any money. And he wrote back, he said, I accept. And he did the legal side of, it's called deed of gift. He gave the statue to the town, so they took responsibility. So if any accident happened or third party damage, we are not responsible, the town are. It was done legally, but yeah, we didn't pay him a penny. And I said, we'll call it the Acorn Group. You know, and I was going to call it the International Sons of the Desert. And Jack Taylor, who was at the time running a convention in the States, in Seattle, Jack said, can I be a member? And I got loads of people writing to me from America saying and of course, it just fizzled out because John McCabe just didn't really have people behind him. And they picked the one that we used, you know, the two of them leaning on the lamp. Yeah.
Which, for where it is in the tone, it fits. It
was the right choice.
And Graham's whole idea was to put Laughing Gravy at the back, and if you look at the statue, Ollie is trying to pat the dog away from biting his trousers, and Graham said he wants the statue to be available, especially to kids. He wants kids to, not retired policemen, but he wants kids to climb on it, and they do.
I was a kid once.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we all were, and some still are.
Yeah.
But no, Graham said he wanted kids to climb on it and play on it to make it accessible. You know.
No, it's a cracking statue. I love it. And my favourite part of it is Laughing Gravy at the back there. Yeah.
It is brilliant.
It brings the statue to life.
Yeah, it does.
It's not just two men stood like that. there's something happening.
But I can remember going to Graham's house in Barnsley to his studio when they were in clay, and I got a really weird feeling, not because I'd been drinking or was travel sick, but I stood and they were on a plinth very high up, and I felt weird because it was almost like they were about to step off. They were so lifelike.
Yeah,
And then
lifelike.
we organised a trip down to the foundry in London where they were being cast, and a gang of us went down to that. That was good. Where they were actually being made.
The whole setting almost is just marvellous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where it is, it's perfect. Yeah.
Well, the beauty of it,
engraved paving stones and everything.
the beauty of it was, we enabled, by giving the statue to Ulverston, we enabled the town to draw down £500,000 worth of funding from Europe to upgrade the fascia of the county hall and to provide all the new street furniture and everything. So funny, I'll never forget. I used to go to monthly council meetings up in Ulverston to discuss developments and everything. And one of the lady councillors, we were discussing one day about the bollards that were going to be to prevent people driving over the pavement. And she said, well, why don't we have a single pole with a little bowler hat on the top? And we were sort of going, well, maybe not. That might not be a good. It might look a little bit phallic. Yeah. And she said, no, I think a bowler hat, Laurel Hardy. And it was so funny. And we were all sort of saying, no, we can't really have that. And anyway, we ended up with just blocks of stone,
Perhaps she didn't know what phallic meant.
Maybe she didn't. Maybe she had a sheltered life. But no, it was funny. It was funny.
Well, that's controversial. The money came from Europe.
Well, the money for the upgrading came from Europe, to provide, because if you think back, if you went to Ulverston before the time, the island was a lot bigger in the middle of County Square, and they resized the island, moved it, widened the pavement to allow a lot more people to access to the statue.
Didn't they used to have a taxi stand there?
That's right.
They only had a taxi stand, and that had to be moved and everything else.
Yeah. Oh no, an awful lot of moving, but it cost a lot of money. Yeah. But no, it was all enabled because there's a thing called match funding that I was involved in my working life, and you could match fund because you had the statue being donated, and it was a work, a work of art that was going to be given to the town. They could then draw down funding to upgrade the area, and it really worked. So we didn't just give them a statue; we spent an awful lot of money on the town. And
what a draw it is for the tourist draw now.
Well, the footfall shot up in Ulverston. Obviously, COVID has set it back a lot, but the footfall of visitors in Ulverston, and every time you go, I defy anybody to go to Ulverston and walk into the county square. There's always somebody taking a picture of it.
Not long after that, Ronnie passed away. So.
And Chris was invited to his memorial service in London. And Ronnie, before he died, he always kept in contact with Chris. And
he never kept in contact with me for some reason.
Is that something to do when you said you could sing and you couldn't? Tell us about that one, Ian.
But also, the 1992 International Convention in Las Vegas, I saw Ronnie Hazelus there, and he went over and they appeared in. We went to a water park one evening for a barbecue. And Ronnie Hazelus and an orchestra were playing, but it was an orchestra of local musicians from Las Vegas. He got together and he rehearsed for a couple of days. And of course, the guy who run that convention I think he went bankrupt.
That's right, he's Sherry Hahn. Yeah, I went there. I went to Vegas, and he wrote to everybody a couple of months after, and he said, I'm really overstretched the budget. Can everybody send me $50? So yeah, right.
And Michael came from Germany to promote the
Michael Smith
European convention. The following year.
Yeah, I'll never. We were selling. Michael came over, and so did Matthias. Matthias Gunther came, and we were selling at the time. I'd bought a load of tankards for the statue appeal, and we were selling them. And of course, with the beer flowing, you have the need to go to the little room every now and again. I said to Matthias, there was about £1,000 in the box. I think I ended up selling all the tankards, and there was about £1,200 raised for the statue appeal, a fortune. I remember giving Matthias the box with all the money in, and I said, Matthias, keep an eye on that money. And I said, there's Germans in the room. And he hugged the I said, Germans? And he looked around like people who tell me Germans don't have a sense of humour. The way he did it, he hugged it and he said, Germans? And he looked around the room. That was so funny. Lovely guy.
Anton Hypes came along from Amsterdam. I think he was promoting a convention as well, wasn't he? It's a good thing with the Hardy. It's a good place to promote.
Good place to promote your conventions. Yeah.
Anton came over a few times, and we were still at the beer engine then, weren't we? But remember when he came over when we moved to the other place, Morris place. He was over and he was staying in the hotel next door, and I took him across the road to the pub where they had karaoke on. He absolutely loved the karaoke.
On the ball and boot.
Yeah, he loved the karaoke. He couldn't stop laughing at the karaoke.
Yeah.
So how did Chris get in touch with Jean now? Do you remember?
I think he found out she was living in Dublin and contacted her somehow. I'm not sure how he did.
I think Bram Reinhout had her over at Roll Duke, didn't he?
He did.
And I think that's how Chris got to find out her contact. But yeah, she was in Dublin, and it sort of revitalised her career, taking this role of Auntie Polly. I mean, I didn't know of it, but she spoke. But she had a really good singing voice, Jean. Even as a very old lady, any sing songs we were having, she's really strong voice.
I went to it was the museum just outside Dusseldorf. Where they were having an anniversary, and she was the
Wolfgang's
in
Museum. Zollingen,
in Zollingen, that's it.
Yeah.
And me and Chris went over, and Jean was there, and they had some singers came in, and they were opera singers.
Yeah.
And they came in and sang a song, and then one of them sang a song with Jean. And she was in a wheelchair then, and she was absolutely marvellous.
Yeah.
Because she'd appeared on the stage in Broadway and stuff like that, and she still had a beautiful voice, and you could tell how impressed the opera singer was singing with her. He was blown away with her well she could still hold a tune, you know.
Yeah.
And then after 14 years, we'd got 46,000 in the statue account.
It really was doing well, the statue appeal. But I liked all the stupid things. Remember, I got Tony Bagley to draw 2 pictures. I came across them the other week and I was cleaning some stuff out. One of Tony's wonderful drawings of the statue, and then next to it I said, could you do one with horrendous differences on it? And Tony did like a seagull sitting on Stan's shoulder, and a tortoise going past, and the Titanic going down in the background. And I sent them out, and it was so funny because the idea was you had to the artist has cleverly concealed 10 differences in the pictures, and you had to send a check for £1. But £200 it raised. 200. Those people were sending them in, and I also did a tiebreaker. I like the Runcorn Widnes Bridge because, and you had to complete the sentence. And I'll never forget. Mandy's lovely mum won it. And she put Pat Finney, and she said, I like the Runcorn Widnes Bridge because it's the iron in it. so I gave, and the prize was a picture of the Runcorn Widnes Bridge, which she kept, and she still got apparently. But it raised £200 for the statue, which was the main thing.
At that point in 2007, it says we had £46,000 in the account, and they were still just short of 12,000 to raise.
It ended up with, I think we needed 58,000 and some odd pennies or whatever it was. But it was good the way it worked, because there was checks coming in all the time. It was brilliant, and we had sing-songs. And you know, you'd go to a pub. I'll never forget being down in the West Midlands with Tony and Phil Rushton, and we were in a pub and we were all singing and messing around. And the fellas in the pub said, "Hey, would you shut up?" You know, which we've had that said a lot. And we said, "We'll be quiet and we won't sing at all if you'll pass the hat for the statue appeal. So they did pass the hat round the pub, and it was like £27.90 or something. And I put it in the figures. I've still got it in the books. Shush money in a pub in. But that was the wonderful thing about it. It was all odd money and all stupid money, but we raised it. You know, we got there in the end.
That was another day we got kicked out early because that Harper band were on. Harper are Bobby Ball's sons.
It was one Bobby. Was it both his sons?
They're both his sons.
Oh, that was it, yeah.
Bobby Ball's sons, and although they both look like Tommy Cannon.
Yeah, that was a bit questionable, wasn't it? Yeah, they was playing in the club after the Harday finished, wasn't they?
We sat with
Emu.
We've got Emu.
I took my Emu puppet for the Harday.
And we were giving them a load of grief.
I just had Emu on my arm while they was performing. They just come on stage and the Emu sat here, just staring at them, and it put them off.
They're a good band. They're a cracking band. They're really good.
They're like a comedy act.
Yeah, comedy act and musicians as well. And in the end, they're like, right. You two can stay, but the bird's got to go. The year is now
2009,
and we have got a new venue.
We've got a new venue. No, we've not got a new venue.
Have we not?
We've got a new tent running the place. Dirty Work's just taken over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fancy that.
In the Murray Street Club.
And we've had a change of t-shirt and
Because it's part 2 now.
And I found my
Eric's
fez.
wearing a fez.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that glasses.
There's no rules.
And we're still drinking.
Yeah.
And Chris won the 2016 International Convention bid.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember I went over with him to the convention, and we went to the registration, and Bob Satterfield said, here's a team for the 2016 convention. They don't even have a vote on it.
Yeah.
It was just coming over to the UK.
Yeah.
Because Chris had put a bid in a couple of years before, and we bowed to, well, Roger Robinson was told to bow to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But Chris asked me to do a DVD, and he sent me a script, and I did the DVD with photographs and things like that, and we added some music to it, and it was a bit too much than we could actually achieve.
A little bit too long, yeah.
A little bit too much than we could actually achieve. We were seemed to be travelling all around the country, doing all sorts of things.
Yeah, trains here.
Sherwood Forest was going to, and all sorts of places. And the Americans saw this DVD. Roger Robinson went over and he showed them the DVD, and everybody wanted to vote to come to England, and he said, no, don't vote for England. We're going to go to Los Angeles next year. So me and Chris went over to the Los Angeles convention, and there were no bids. There were no other bids for the international convention. So we were forced into it. And we know, well, a good job was made of the convention.
It went well, yeah. It went well.
Thanks to you, Eric.
Wow.
Because you did rather take over
That's the trouble with me. I get a bit bossy. I'll get a bit bossy.
Remember,
that's the trouble.
12 months after Chris had won the convention, we went to the UK convention, and people were asking him about the efforts that had been put in so far. And now I'd told Chris I wasn't going to do anything with this convention. I wasn't going to arrange anything and stuff like that. But I took him up. We went up to the convention hotel, the potential convention hotel, and we had a few discussions with them. And then after the UK convention, we had a meeting in Ulverston, and we all met up, and Eric said to Chris, Eric said, well, Chris, you've arranged this convention, what are your plans? And he said, I'm just here to listen. and Eric went down into his bag and pulled out a convention. We just got to fill in the gaps. This is what happens at conventions. We got to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And we'd sort out a convention within a couple of hours. Basically.
We have to pretend we've not just been for a pee or anything. No.
Not at all. Not at all. Thanks for that, Norm.
Yeah, cheers, Norman.
Cheers, Norman. I'll thank you. There was a few others that we'd explored before.
Yeah.
Sir Ken, though, weren't there? Who didn't even have the courtesy to reply back to us.
No.
Even a polite get stuff would have sufficed,
exactly,
but we didn't even get that.
Yeah.
So,
Colin Bean had died because Colin Bean lived in Wigan, and I'd been speaking for years. I thought we should have gone and got Colin Bean to come down, but Colin had died a few years ago. So it was Gary who said, "Ping."
Doddy's amazing, though. Doddy was such a great guy.
The Corrie in Coronation Hall after we'd done the twin toning, and there's all this beer left, and there's me, you, and Jeremy left. And said, what we're going to do all this beer? So we're going to nick it.
yeah, we swapped them all off the table.
So we've got Jeremy Belgium, because we can't mention his name because we're getting in trouble. And he said, "Should people get away with this?" High and easy.
There's no rules.
Of course we'll get away with it, Mark.
We're putting all this beer in boxes. We get to the courts, it's taking us back to the Grange Hotel, opening the boot, shoving it on. And Jeremy said, "What are we going to do when we get back?" "Well, we'll divvy it up on the curb."
Probably drink it.
Yeah.
Probably drink it.
That was all the beer that was on the tables. And I noticed quite a few of our visitors didn't want to drink the beer, so they were taking the labels off.
Yeah,
they were just taking the labels. The Americans, they were just taking the labels off. They didn't want the beer. What are you doing with that? Well, I'm going to leave it. I'm happy. I've got the label.
Trouble is, they can't take it on a plane. You see, can they?
You could perhaps get one or two in if you got luggies. But I said, "Well, what are you doing with your beer?" "Well, I'm just going to leave it." "You should go leave it."
What a good idea.
Didn't get left, did it?
They didn't get left. No. None got left and none went bad.
No.
I remember having a few extra bottles myself.
But I don't know if we can put this on video, but at Ulverston, just before we went on stage, he said,
this might be in the uncut version. This is the uncut stuff.
The director's cut.
Yeah.
Ian, I can't go on. I won't go to toilet. So what do you mean you won't go to toilet?
This was behind the stage, right?
Behind stage before the curtain just opened. He said, "I'm dying for a wee. I said, "We can't go to toilet, you're on there." "What am I going to do?" I said, "Here, pee in that bottle." "I can't pee in a bottle. Just pee in it, I'll get rid of it."
Yeah, and you won't tell anybody, will you?
Oh, I won't.
No, it's not as if we filmed or anything, is it? No.
We'll never tell us all.
Us four here now, and Jack's behind the camera, and Julia's doing all the technical stuff.
And there's all these people watching there.
No, they can't hear because they're not here.
They're not.
Oh no, they're not here.
All these people watching now are not here.
No, they're not.
So they won't hear this. So if you could keep it quiet, just amongst us six.
Strictly on the Queen.
Strictly on the Queen Vivi.
Continuing Wigan later with Carters and Jupiter.
Oh yeah. Yeah, after we'd finished the Laurel Hardy, we'd made plans with the Carter family, and Jupiter was in on this, and we went down to Wigan, didn't we, in the Raven.
Where was Jupiter staying that night? It wasn't.
It weren't
at the Jupiter, was it?
No, it was at the Dirty Work residence.
Yeah.
That was the funny story there. When we'd been out all day here, and then we'd been to Wigan, and I had several. So I said, "Yeah, you can stop at ours, Jupiter. You know, you don't need book a room at the Jupiter Hotel.
The Jupiter Hotel.
You can stop at ours, yeah." So we go into bed separately, obviously. But on the landing, we was having a little chat about the day. He starts stripping off, Kevin. His t-shirt comes. His t-shirt, yeah, there should have been music. It would have been funnier. And it was still talking about the day, and then the trolleys came down. I went, "Good night, Kev." That's enough for me. Jupiter said to me, "What are you going to do? Cough it? Are you going to cough so we win $1 million?" I went, "Yes."
Yeah.
That is exactly what we're going to do.
Exactly.
I said, "So what we will do is play it straight on all the easy questions. The questions run as they do in the show. They're all Laurel and Hardy related. Again, sticking to the theme. So we had all these silly questions early on. I said, then you use your lifelines up. I said, when you run out of lifelines and you're struggling, I will start coughing." Bearing in mind, we've got to do this live. So we have it all worked out. And then on the day, anything can happen. And it does,
And it
doesn't
did, yeah.
And it did.
So-
It did that day.
So they was answering the easy questions. They struggled on, I think, the second one. It's like, it's a stupid one. They should know this anyway. It's like they got there.
Who did Simple
It was like,
Simon
come
meet on the way to
come
the
on,
fair?
Come on, yeah.
Kevin Keegan.
So we're all in on this. That this is what we're going to do. About the laugh lines and everything. And Ian's lost in his moment. And he got to the question. It was something like the £16,000. And they're starting to struggle at this point. And Ian's like, Gary, lifelines. Hey, what? I've not used any lifelines.
Yeah.
You still got your lifelines. I'm like, yeah. Get through them. And all the answers came up. Is it A, such a thing? Is it B? Or is it C? Or is it D? In Jupiter's, it's D. So, no, I'll read you the question
Let me
again.
just read you them. You might not have heard me. You might not have heard me properly.
Or is it C?
Is it A?
It's D. He's like, oh, for God's sake, I said they're going to mess this up.
No. Is
We're
it A?
going live here. Everybody's
Is it
watching.
B? Is it C? Or is it C? Or is it D? Oh, it's D.
it's
Definitely D.
C.
Would Bill work with somebody else?
Well, we're going to go to that.
We're trying to pair him up at the moment. We're trying to find somebody who looks like Jupiter. That lives in Bolton.
Yeah, there could be a new partnership formed this year.
Bill and Norman.
But yeah,
It rolls off the tongue. Like.
It does, Bill. It's got a ring to it, hasn't it? How are you doing, Norm?
Bill and Storming.
Yeah, we'll discuss contracts on that in a bit now.
Yeah.
Our people will be in touch with your people.
Yeah. They can do all the legal stuff.
Yeah.
And here we are, 30 years later.
30 years.
Spent the last
Still doing this rubbish.
7 hours talking about Laurel Hardy, and I've got to edit this down to about an hour.
20 minutes. 20 minutes. Everything's 20 minutes at Laurel Hardy. You know that.
Would you do the song?
Wrap it up.
Would you do the song?
No, because we'll be doing that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, they could join in with us.
Well, then we'll do it song. Whether it makes the editing or not, we don't know.
Yeah, but would you sing a testing, dancing, or
Why don't we do the song now? Tram, a marching, a testing, dancing, marching to this melody.
well, I'm a testing. So what are you?
Dancing.
What are you, mate?
He's a dancer.
I'm a dancer.
Watch the wires.
What's the wire?
Yeah, what's the wires?
Watch the wires.
Don't rip your necks out.
Don't pull me wire.
On 3.
Hang on.
What?
What we're doing first?
We'll start singing, maybe.
Yeah, no, but then when we're stopping and going,
A testing first.
a testing,
Dancing.
dancing,
We've got-
chanting.
Chanting.
Yeah.
No, A, C, D.
So,
a testing, chanting.
chanting, dancing.
Why are you changing
A
it?
testing, chanting, dancing.
We got it on there.
So we stop,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
and then the first rock is to the right.
Okay.
We never got to the right.
We always go to the left.
It's to the left. You can't change it
The
now.
first,
We always go
the first
to the
sway is to the left.
To the left.
You know why? Because when I do it, I'm always facing you, so it's always to
Okay.
the right.
1, 2, 3.
We are the sons of the desert, having the time of our lives, marching along, 2,000 strong, far from our sweethearts and wives, God bless them. Tramp, 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 the boys are marching, attesting to,
Chanting.
dancing to this melody. La 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 la. Sons of the desert are we.
Hey!
That wasn't bad, that. That seemed to work, didn't it?
It did work. We're not going to do a second take on that.
No. And it's 10:30, so we've done well there.
Done well,
Right, so we wrap up now. We've got 20.
Is that back in this position?
25 minutes to catch our train, Norman.